because you just never know. Sometimes we have 10 and sometimes we have about 5, and then they all watch it on replay and they message, oh, we missed this. So, right, well, it looks like we are actually live in the group. So I'll just watch until it says we've got somebody watching with us, because that's always even nicer. But this, as one person I interviewed, he just sort of said, oh, this is this silly time of always wondering, are you live? Can people see you? And everything else in the group. But let's just try and refresh it and just see. Oh, it says I've gone live in the group, so that's always handy. Yes, there we go. So, whoops, don't have that, because otherwise we'll have some nice echo going on. Right, cross that out. Right, okie dokies, let's get going. Right, welcome everybody, and hopefully there is somebody out there watching with us this evening. But if you are watching on replay, then put #replay in the comments, because that way we can hopefully see more people. And it's always lovely to see who's watched and who hasn't. So tonight's guest has won not just one 2 Club award, Clickfunnels, but he's actually won 3. And in the financial services industry, which is notoriously straight-laced and very traditional, he's certainly the only one in the UK and possibly in the whole world to have actually achieved this status. So I believe he's been in the financial sector almost all his working life, and consequently has learned exactly what customers want and don't want, and has been at the top of his game since 1991. Now, helping people sort their retirement plans and options obviously has put him in the sort of the whole world of the property spectra as well. And so in 2012, he also launched a business offering property services, ranging from organising rents and on rental properties for other people to doing up his own projects. And this too seemed to have been a roaring success. In 2015, he took the unusual step of looking a bit more deeply into this whole marketing world and moving away from traditional marketing, and over the course of the next few years studied, analysed, educated, tweaked and refined until he came up with a system that produces customers and returns on demand. And that's what led him to these 3 Clickfunnels 2 awards. Certainly unheard of in the sector. So please welcome to tonight's inspiring guest, Mark Knight. Hi,
wow.
Mark.
I have to live up to that.
Well, we do try to let people know the caliber of the person we're going to be speaking to. So if anybody, for those of you who are watching live tonight, if you can say hi and remember to click on the StreamYard link so that we know who it is who's joining us, then that is lovely, because it's always really, really nice to know who is actually watching with us. Hi, John. Lovely to see you. So your dream is that to win a 2 Club award, I'm presuming. So, Mark, what led you into financial services in the first place?
Oh, hi, John, by the way. I did wonder, the way that you were introducing me, whether I'd actually need to say anything tonight, and now you've dashed my hopes. So let me think. So to correct a couple of things that you said, I've probably had about 20 jobs before I got into financial services.
Right.
But I don't talk about those too much.
Okay. Yes, but you left school in 1985. What did you? Yes. That was when you did your O levels, I presume, in 1985.
Yes.
Yes. So what did you do between then and 1991?
Okay. Yeah, I think the word drifted is probably the right word. I think I started off pushing trolleys around a local supermarket.
Right. Okay.
And doing, just various jobs, working in a warehouse. I got the feeling that I didn't know what I wanted to do. So a kind of breakthrough moment for me was when I went to America for a year as a nanny.
Oh, that's an unusual one for a man.
Yeah, well, I was driving around and I went into a local careers office, and there was a poster on the wall and it said, would you like to live in America for a year? Would you like to receive pocket money? And would you like to get some education or training? So I thought, yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah.
And I went up to talk to the desk, and they said, yeah, that's being an au pair in America for a year. I thought, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
No.
But I followed it through, and then ended up speaking to this family in New York, and they said I was exactly what they were looking for because they had unruly children.
Right. Okay. Yes. And so, you know what? Why not have a male au pair? You can still do everything, and great if people have got slightly more unruly kids. So you went to America. Where did you end up in America?
In New York.
In New York. And then
New York.
Yeah, so good. You have to. They named it twice. Yeah. So what did you do when you finished that? So that was a 9-month program, was it, or a whole year?
12 months. Yeah. So the parents, the father was a New York lawyer, and the mother was a tri-state banker. Okay. And I liked the sound of both of those careers. I liked the lawyer one better, but I wouldn't be able to suffer through all of the years of education for that. So when I came back, I was looking to get into financial services. So that's really what kind of sparked that interest.
Right. Thanks. Yeah. So, and then you got to work a job in sort of one of the high street. Was it I saw Woolwich mentioned somewhere, but was it building societies you went into first of all, or?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was just a life insurance office.
Right.
I lasted a year in there, and then that led on to the Woolwich Building Society. Yeah. Well, then became Woolwich Bank.
Did you get involved with mortgages in the Woolwich as well?
Yeah. So as the financial advisor in the Woolwich, I was doing mortgages, life cover, investments.
Yep.
I think the only thing I didn't do was pensions, which is strange because I ended up doing that. That was my niche.
Right. Yes. It's funny because I've actually spent a few years, working in the financial services, but in New Zealand. So
all right.
I got headhunted by Prudential and worked for them just selling pensions for 12 months. And then I went out on my own and did life insurance as well. But yeah, it's an interesting market. I think it's much more regulated now, and also in the UK over what it was in New Zealand. Their real estate agents were more regulated than the financial services at the time. Amazing.
It was the Woolwich actually where I didn't know this at the time. Actually, that was where I found my first niche.
Right.
And I also started training and coaching other financial advisors.
So you were actually quite young when you started doing that. Sort of
before
it was
25, I think, at that point.
Right. Yes, because you must be a similar sort of age to me. So you started doing that. So with the Woolwich, how long were you with the Woolwich? 7
or 8 years.
Right, and then you moved on to what was next after Woolwich?
HSBC Bank.
Oh, okay. And so what did you do with them? So you've discovered your niche, you've started coaching people. What was next? What drove you to HSBC?
So what happened when I was in the Woolwich was we were selling investments. They didn't have many investments, and I think the main ones were things called unit trusts.
Right. Yes.
And most advisors were putting their clients' monies into things called PEPs. I think they were PEPs back then. They're ISAs now. And so somebody might come into the bank with 100 grand in their deposit account, and the advisor would just set up a £6,000 PEP for them.
Right.
And then hope to see them the following year. Whereas when they came in to see me, I realized that although you can only add 6,000 to a PEP, the person's got £100,000 to invest. So let's put a lot more of that into the unit trust environment, and then we can switch it that way.
Right.
And it seemed that although we were trained to do that, nobody else was doing it. So when I started rising up the ranks and I became #1 advisor in the Woolwich, they they all came to me and said, what are you doing? How do you do this? And I said, well, I'm just doing this. And they said, oh, I never thought about doing that.
But it's in the training manual.
That's right. So it was really bizarre, but I think it was about the confidence. People didn't, the other advisors, they didn't have the confidence to say, okay, you've got 100 grand, let's put 60, 70, sometimes 80,000 into different unit trusts.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually you were delving deeper into what the customer needed and giving them what they needed, so that you were actually ultimately giving them the retirement of their dreams and what they were always planning for.
That's right. Yeah.
So proper financial advice as opposed to surface financial advice. What an amazing sort of learning ground that you had then, and realization, so that for now and for sort of later on in your career, you've really capitalized on that, it seems.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I didn't realize that I'd found a niche. I just knew that I was good at this and I could do lots of it. And so I trained all the staff to spot the potential clients that would come in. And so the two things that was working well for me was that John saying he was a Woolwich. He was a Woolwich customer.
Woolwich was a customer of his in the mid-90s. He was setting up a scan.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then,
interesting.
Yes, absolutely, Claire. Definitely a good niche to have. Definitely.
Yeah. It was just so I was becoming successful on two levels. One was that I was focusing on one thing more than everybody else, and the other thing was that I was then able to train the other staff to identify leads for me.
So they
I went around the country then showing everybody else how to do what I was doing.
Right. Okay. So that was pretty good that you were getting people to feed into your success, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And in all the time I was in the banks, that's one of the, I think that's one of the reasons why I was always one of the most successful.
Yeah. And so Woolwich, not Woolwich, was it Woolwich or HSBC got you going around the country training everybody else? Woolwich. Yeah. So they got you. And then when you went to HSBC, what did they do? What did you do differently there? What made you jump ship to HSBC?
When I was in the Woolwich, I started writing a lot of wills for people. And I thought I found a niche by writing wills for financial advisors for their clients.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So when I left the Woolwich, I stopped. I took 6 months off to try and build a business around that.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't do too well. I think I was doing it more of as a jolly because my son had just been born as well. So I had 6 months off. I made enough money to pay my mortgage.
Right.
And then went back.
Yeah.
Back to normal work.
Yeah. If you were to do that again, what would you do differently this time? Do you think there is a business there in that, or do you think actually it was definitely the right decision to go back to HSBC and scrap that whole little idea?
I think there is a business there, knowing what I know now. But back then, I was just trying to do very simplistic wills,
right,
and it just wasn't working.
No.
But interestingly enough, the manager of the Woolwich said to me when I told him what I was going to be leaving to do, he said, "Why aren't you becoming an independent financial advisor?"
Right.
I should have done that.
But sometimes it takes a while for that penny to drop. It has to do a few more chinks before it falls home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long were you then with the HSBC?
2 years.
2 years. And then you went off on your own?
No, I then joined Lloyds Bank.
You were going round getting the facts on all of the companies then?
Thing was, because I was really successful, I kept getting headhunted. And each time that happened, the packages got more and more attractive.
Yeah.
And the branches I was working in were much more powerful than the ones before. So it just made sense financially to do it. The job itself is pretty much the same whether you work for whatever bank. Although going from Woolwich to HSBC, that was a massive culture shock for me.
In what way? I can
Uh,
imagine.
yeah, if you think of the Woolwich were really, although it was a bank by that point, they still had the building society nicey feeling.
Yeah.
Well, when you went into HSBC, it was corporate.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
HSBC is global. Woolwich. Well, so does Woolwich even exist now? For anybody who's not from the UK, I don't know whether other countries have building societies in the same way that the UK used to. Building societies don't really seem to exist these days, or they've all become banks. But they were financial institutions set up, and they dealt primarily with mortgages, and then branched into offering insurances of various guises to support the mortgages. Is that about good enough definition?
Yeah,
Explanation?
I think who controlled them as well. I think members control
Right. Yes.
building societies, and banks are more corporations.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And yeah. So you went
Woolwich
to.
doesn't exist now because Barclays bought them out.
I wondered what happened to Woolwich. I know my brother was with Woolwich years ago and things, but yeah, I was with Britannia. God knows what happened to them, but swallowed
Probably
up.
nationwide, I expect, or Halifax.
Yeah,
Nationwide or Halifax, something like that.
yeah, I think you're right there. Nationwide rings a bell. So you went from HSBC onto Lloyds, and then Lloyds was basically doing the same thing on a even better scale for you financially.
Yeah, but I found another niche when I got to Lloyds. I was sitting there one day, and one of the bank tellers came in and said, I've got a customer who needs to see a financial advisor, but she's crying. And she couldn't tell what she was crying about. I thought, oh dear, what have I done now? So she came in, sat down with me, and after a little bit of time, she explained that she just had a letter from Lloyds Bank saying that her endowment policy was about £10,000 or £20,000 short of what it should be to pay out the mortgage, and she was devastated. She thought she was destitute. She thought she'd be homeless.
Right. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I researched how it was set up for her, and she shouldn't have ever had it in the first place.
Well, I think it was the same for most endowment mortgages, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the big problem was that the commission that was paid for endowment mortgages was so high, and it was so easy because when they were originally came out, I think the banks were and the life companies were telling people that it should probably pay out more than double your mortgage. And without looking at the risk side of things, I think the minute somebody says to you that's working in a bank, this is probably going to pay out twice the amount of your mortgage, then you don't question it any further.
No, you don't. You sort of think banks are so, they don't exaggerate. They are so straight-laced that you trust them, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I helped her sort out claiming compensation for that endowment, because it was really bad. It shouldn't have happened.
No.
And then we switched her endowment mortgage to a repayment mortgage.
Yeah.
And because she used her compensation to pay off some of the mortgage, it didn't cost her any extra per month. So she ended up with risk and uncertainty. And she started off with risk and uncertainty and ended up absolutely safe and sound and secure.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I remember those times. I graduated from university in 1991, bought my second home. I had a house when I was a student, but that's another story. And I bought my essentially my first house, and the mortgage broker, the building society and things were trying to tell me to get an endowment mortgage, endowment policy alongside interest only. And then I looked into it and realised actually I could have an interest-only mortgage. And because I was going to be going travelling quite a lot in the next few years, and you don't really pay anything off in a capital and repayment anyway, it wouldn't do me any harm whatsoever to just have interest only. Then I'd have more disposable income to buy actually more property, which was always my plan. They didn't like me very much, but hey ho. They said yes. But yes, so that was then your new niche, was actually helping people who had been effectively missold the whole endowment policy mortgage.
That's right. Yeah.
And made an awful lot of people very happy, but probably didn't make you very popular with some of the banks and mortgage providers and insurance companies.
No, but it was strange because I also had staff coming to me from other branches around me, asking for my help.
Right.
I remember one member of staff came to me. She had a bundle that was about this thick of letters to and from Lloyds Bank trying to sort out her problem. She'd only bought the policy as a savings plan. And I said, I'll take a look at this for you. And it really was that thick. And I looked at the first letter that she'd written and the first response that she'd got. And immediately I noticed that the bank hadn't paid attention to her first point, and that would have stopped everything. So I said, just write back and tell them to look at this and see what they come back with.
Right.
And it worked straight away. That's all she had to do. So by that point, as soon as that happened, I had clients being wheeled in and out to see me about it.
Okay. What was it that made it so that you could spot and sort these things out, but other people weren't? You seem to be the one who makes the link each time and then others follow. What is it? What do you think is special about you that you spot these things?
I've always thought that when I see an issue, I look for the solution for it. And there are other people out there that do that too, but I don't think there are many people.
No. So what do the normal people do rather than looking for a solution? What are they doing that's different to you? They're approaching it from, instead of finding almost like an end point and working backwards, are they trying to sort of work their way forward, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know really. I think something happened last year when I was selling my business. I had to rope in one of my employees to help me.
Right.
And when that happened, he became like a director of a company.
Yeah.
He'd never been a director of a company. He'd always been an owner. Yeah. And every time there was a small issue or even a big issue, it was the end of the world for him. He couldn't see a way past it. And I just, every single time, it never seemed like an issue to me. Right. I just thought, I need to do that to fix that.
Okay, lovely. So yes, you are totally, okay, this is just another road hump to get over on my path to where I want to be.
Yeah, and I think the more you deal with that and deal with it like that, the more successful you'll be.
Yeah, no, it's a bit like me and rules. I always think that rules are guidelines. And if you want to go down them, there's going to be a way somewhere. Sometimes, most of the time. So after Lloyds, what happened next? So there you are, you're sorting out all these people with their endowment policies. You've been making sure your customers all have fantastic retirements because you've worked out and actually invested their funds the most effectively. So what's next?
So 2 or 3 months before my end date in Lloyds Bank, I won a star performer weekend away in Dublin.
Right.
And I met a couple of guys there, and they said that the Monday that we got back from Dublin was their last working day in the bank. Right. They're actually on a notice period at the moment. And I thought it was really strange because in banks normally, when you're on notice period, as a financial advisor, you're put on garden leave and you're not allowed to come into the office and work. you don't get any bonuses, and you certainly don't win any awards.
Mm-hmm.
And yet these two guys were there.
Yeah.
So I said to them, why are you both leaving at the same time?
Yeah.
When you're obviously very successful because you're here with me?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, what they'd done is they realized and worked out that as an independent financial advisor,
Mm-hmm.
the policies that you can set up, because at that point in time, Lloyds Bank owned Scottish Widows, which is an insurance company.
Yep. I remember.
So if I went to Lloyds Bank and asked for a £50,000 life policy for 25 years, let's say it costs £50 a month.
Yep.
But if, as an independent advisor, I went to them for my client for the same plan for the same term with the same company, it was 30% cheaper than the bank were charging.
Yep.
This is what they told me, and I couldn't believe it, because why would the bank overcharge their clients? It just didn't make any sense.
No.
You've got a captive audience like that, you'd be giving them discounted rates, not charging them more.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did when I got back to Blighty was cracked open my laptop and started researching, and it was true. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Told my wife, and within a week I'd handed in my notice.
Aha. Right. So how come? Yeah. Oh, that's irrelevant. Yeah. So wow. And then you decided. So you then went and got the training to become an IFA.
That's right.
Yep. How long does that take in the UK?
Pardon?
I say, how long does that take in the UK?
There's different exams that you can have. I'd already had the exam. I had the right exams to start with, but for someone nowadays, maybe 1 or 2 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you went out on your own. How did you find your customers now? Because suddenly obviously in the bank, they come to you. You don't have to go out and get them. And now you're having to go out and get them.
Was it today or tomorrow? I'm going to post a video of exactly what I'm going to tell you now. So I don't want to give too many things away.
Well, it's fine, because the people in this group, they're not going to go out and blather.
No, I know. So I probably paid for the most spectacular and special website in the world.
Right.
And I thought that's going to bring all the clients to me. So I sat there watching the phone.
Yeah.
Watching the phone, and it just kept looking back at me, apologizing. Sorry, Mark, we've got no one for you to speak to today.
I love it, isn't it? You create a website and they will come.
It was at that point in time that I started researching marketing.
Right. So what year was this?
This was actually about 2005.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So 2005 is still relatively early in this whole website and online in the UK anyway. I know in America they were 5, 7 years, 8 years ahead of us. But in the UK it was still, websites looked a bit like blog sites really for the average person.
Yeah. Clickfunnels wasn't around, the funnel software that I use. And I'm not sure if the word funnel was around, but maybe a long page sales letter. So it was a 1-page website, but took you about 20 minutes to read through it. I think that was probably the thing that was around at that point in time.
And is that what your website was like, or were you a bit more dynamic?
My first website, the one I was waiting for clients to call me, was very special. It had lots of tabs and lots about me and lots about all the things I can do, but nothing to say to a client that this is for you. Yeah. It was all about me, I think.
Actually, that's just made the penny drop as to, because I had a beauty salon and I used to get clients telling me that they came to me because of my website. Now, I didn't really think too much of it. I knew but I'd created the website for myself and things. But now you say that, I think actually that's probably is the reason why, is that in that I actually put, if you are suffering with this, if you are suffering with this, if you are suffering with this, blah, 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 then click here, basically. So, yes. So unintentionally, probably, I'd gone for the customer focused approach as opposed to the me focused approach on that. So, yeah.
So I think most general websites are me focused rather than customer focused.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so I went from that, and then I think I spent after I can't remember how long it was, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, it might have been a month,
Right.
of sitting there waiting for that phone to ring. I thought, okay, I need to do something very drastically different to this.
Yeah.
So I think I spent about 3 months of more than 9 to 5, but full days, just researching marketing very specifically to get leads on the website.
Yeah.
And then so from that I produced maybe a 1 or 2 page site. It certainly didn't have 5 or 6 tabs on it.
Yeah.
But the main thing was there was a call to action very quickly, very specific.
Yeah.
And the phone started ringing.
Funny that.
It is funny, very funny.
It is. A confused mind never buys. So you just prove that when you then put just one call to action, very simple, very straightforward, boom, you suddenly get phone calls. Yeah. So you recognize you're on to a winner, and that, I presume, then worked. Did you add anything else in, or did you just stick with your website and then, I presume, referrals?
It was mainly just the website. I'd taken a few clients from the bank that I could contact. But as soon as that website started working, I didn't have any time to contact anybody else. I had, in fact, within a couple of weeks of that website, or I'll call it a pretend funnel, going live, I had to take on somebody because the phone literally was ringing off the hook.
That's pretty special. What do you think was it was just having the sort of one offer essentially on there, was it? Or
and it was calling for people who had problems. And when you can solve problems, that's
so it was basically, was it a particular niche of people then? If essentially, was it a particular problem, or did you have a range of problems that you were solving? But how did you sort of target down?
They were arranged. The main one was this endowment issue.
Right. Okay.
And so what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to, as when I was in the bank, a few clients came in who'd had endowments arranged by independent financial advisors. Yeah. And when I researched those, they were all, I didn't find one that wasn't set up correctly.
It was only through the banks.
Through the banks and through the life insurance agents who came knocking at your door.
Yeah.
So I made it very clear that I only work against the banks and the insurance companies.
Right. So then you didn't alienate the other financial advisors, the independents.
Sometimes a couple slipped through the nets.
Yeah.
But as soon as I realized that, we quashed it straight away.
Right. So integrity was high on the list and things. Did you then find that other financial advisors were actually referring people to you who they
I did. Yeah. But because what I was offering was twofold. One was helping with the endowment, and 2 was restructuring the mortgage.
Yeah.
A lot of the financial advisors didn't want me doing the second thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do the first thing in isolation. I wanted to create the perfect client solution.
Yeah. You wanted to do what you felt was in the best interest of the client. Yeah. And then when 2 people, it becomes a bit diluted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and complicated and everything else in between. Yeah. So so that's interesting. So you found a niche, which was people who had bought these endowment policies, were now up to their neck in what they perceived as mortgage hell and debt. And of course, this must be around about, 2007-ish by now.
Yeah.
Property prices were all over they were shooting up, weren't they? Because then we had the crash in 2008.
Yeah.
So you found your niche was the financial services. people with endowment policies, you honed down, talked about their problems, and so they came flooding to you who had the solution to their problem. Fantastic. Love it. Yeah. And so you had still had this long form sales letter style website. What happened next?
So I think we started shifting away from endowments into pensions, specific pensions. And it was at that point, that was probably about 2012, maybe something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And I think funnels, the word funnel was around then.
Yeah.
So I went from it was still the endowment website, even though it wasn't, well, it didn't have like 10 or 15 different tabs. It was still very expensive for me to buy it, and it looked particularly good. What I started noticing though is the leads were dropping down, and when I researched why that might be happening, it was because it was not mobile friendly.
Right.
And about 90% of people looking at it were on mobiles.
Yes.
So the first thing I did was change that site to a mobile friendly site, which I did myself.
Right.
And so the first website, the second website might have had maybe two pages.
Yeah.
This next one just had one page.
Yeah.
And it was designed by me, and it looked terrible.
But you know what? Some of the worst looking websites are the best converters.
My staff said, you need to, when I pressed go live on the website, they said, you need to go and find somebody else who can do you a new website, because you're not going to get anything from that. It's terrible. It was a black screen with white or light blue writing. It was particularly bad.
Yeah, that sounds actually quite difficult to even read.
Yeah, I thought it was all right, but the cost of leads went down by half, and the amount of leads doubled. So
wow. So how were you getting leads now, using Google?
Well, we started with Google years ago, but then we changed to Facebook.
Okay, right.
So we were on Facebook at that point.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So so you really were into disruptive marketing, or was Facebook ads still easy enough that they showed up anyway?
Yeah, I was doing my own ads as well, which was
that was going to be my next question.
I tried to work out how much I'd spent on Facebook ads. You think, is that me or you? That's it's gone. So we must have spent a couple of $100,000 at least on Google ads.
Yeah.
And Facebook ads. I managed to get. I think we moved over to Facebook in something like 2013.
Right. Was this at the height of the whole endowment policy? Because I was trying to remember, I was being bombarded constantly for
yeah, it was around about that time. It started tapering off a little bit after 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
But I think in 2016 or 2017, from 2017 to 2020, I looked at how much I'd paid in Facebook ads. Yeah. And it didn't cover all the period going back, and I'd paid over about $700,000.
Wow.
On Facebook ads. So I must have easily have got to over $1 million on Facebook ads over the years.
Yes, but it doesn't matter how much you've spent, it's what your return has been. Yeah. So do you think that you've really learned how to niche down, how to actually do the Facebook ads for yourself, or do you think that some of these new these youngsters who specialize in just doing that could do a slightly better job nowadays?
Yeah, I think that we can all be good at a lot of things, but we can't be spectacular at everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so my son, actually, who's 22, Alex, he does Facebook ads.
Right.
He did my last lot of Facebook ads before I shut my company down.
Right.
And he works for an advertising company in the States that also helps me with Facebook ads at some point as well.
Right. Okay. So you don't do it all for yourself anymore.
No, I wouldn't do it anymore. I don't think I would, because it moves too quickly.
Yeah.
For you to run a successful business and monitor what you need to do with Facebook. I don't think you can't do everything.
No. So it's specializing. So not only niching down in your business, but also niching down and recognizing that actually you're going to be a jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah. Plus, I saw I had a conversation with someone the other day. I've always thought of myself as quite lazy.
Right.
But now I don't think it was laziness. It was entrepreneurial. It's just that instead of me doing the work, I wanted to show other people what to do.
Yeah.
And employ them and coach and educate them on what to do.
Yeah. No, it's and I think that's definitely the way to go, isn't it? Because you're then able to focus on exactly what you like doing, shun off and give it to other people, give what you don't like doing to people who do actually like and excel at it. So you're totally buying back your own time and leveraging beautifully. No, I'm with that and things. So one thing that obviously you have always become is sort of known as the expert in your field. How do you think you've actually managed to do that time and time again, just because you have got this eye for something that people are missing?
I don't know. I'm not sure I can answer that question, but it does make me laugh because one of the things I did before, when I was drifting around, I worked in a nightclub as a bartender.
Right.
And,
I was hoping you weren't going to say bouncer because you don't quite look the bouncer shape.
No, I don't think that would work very well. And I really enjoyed music. I would have rather been out there dancing than doing the bar work. So I used to prance around dancing and singing whilst serving customers.
Okay.
And everybody that I was working with used to think that I was being quite lazy, and they were putting all the work and effort in.
Right.
Every night at the end when we cashed up our tills, I'd always taken a lot more money and served more people than everybody else.
Interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah. I think it's when you find your flow and you really enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can excel at it.
Yeah. And you can make it look easy.
Yeah. And you try fighting. You try and do things where you're having to fight or struggle or put the effort in. That's when you're working against your flow. And you're not successful. Probably why I wasn't that good when I was working in a warehouse.
No. Okay. So the advice to anybody listening is basically do what you're passionate about.
That's right.
Yeah. Do what you love and don't do anything else. Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to do the things you don't quite like so much, but as soon as you can outsource it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you obviously, I'm presuming you have your dream clients that you like to work with. How do you come to identify, because obviously you've worked in the financial services and now you're going to be coaching financial advisors. How do you determine the type of person you want to work with?
I think that there's a couple of things that I'm looking at because I know that if you really enjoy what you're doing, it's going to be much easier to work with somebody. So whichever side you're looking at. So I really enjoy helping people be successful. As long as they want to work with me to be successful.
Right. Okay.
I've helped other financial advisors over the years and given them ideas and tips and suggestions, and it's clear in my mind which ones take those ideas and suggestions and at least try them.
Yeah.
And those who take them and dismiss them out of hand.
Yeah.
And so I think what I do is I have an hour-long call with somebody, and during that call we delve really deep into not just what they want, but the issues where they are is causing them at the moment.
Right.
And I just find it easy then to figure out who is going to be a good fit working with me.
Yeah. So some of that comes down to know, like, and trust, doesn't it? As well as coachability. But
yeah,
it's like when you were at school, I'm sure there were some teachers that you responded to far better than other teachers, even within the same subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I presume it goes the same way, really, that sometimes you just can't, somebody's just doesn't take on what you're trying to convey to them. They don't see the value in it, but then somebody else could potentially say to them exactly the same thing and they would take it on board. But then there are some people who are just so up there in the clouds that they don't think they can take advice from anybody at all. But yeah, so it's identifying those people who so it's gut feeling really for you, who you feel from that chatting, who you feel with.
I think it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. I haven't got a magic pill or a magic wand, even though I do like Harry Potter and magic a lot. I'm not that good. And so I make it clear that there's going to be effort involved on both sides to get people where they want to be. So it's a short, what I've got at the moment is a short program in terms of time scales. It's 90 days to get them set up and running. So, we go from not having a clue about niche or even what to do about that into having everything set up, including all your social media, everything.
Fantastic. Yeah. So now one thing that you're clearly good at is analysing what the results that you're getting and then making adjustments. But to get you on that path, you've had mentors yourself and coaches and things. Who do you think has been sort of for you? What program have you done that really got you to this point where you can work for 2 days a week and get 3 2 Comma Club awards in the space of sort of a few years, just a very short number of years?
I think probably my wife.
Okay. Yeah.
I think without my wife, I probably wouldn't be sat where I am now, anywhere near. And so I'm always striving more and more because of that. But in terms of sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say behind every great man is an even greater woman, isn't it? Something
I think so.
I've butchered that.
I would still be in the warehouse now if it wasn't for her.
Yeah. Oh wow. Gosh, so she really got you out of the warehouse even. So was she the one who pushed you into going into the financial services?
She wasn't the one who pushed me to do that, but she was the one I knew, because I was drifting around and she was training to become a teacher.
Okay.
I knew that. So I don't know. I was earning about $5,000 a year then.
Yeah.
And when she finished her studies, she was going to step into $20,000 a year. So I knew that I needed to up my game.
So a bit of competition as well.
Yeah, and I just knew it was important. If I wanted to keep, I've already caught her. If I wanted to keep her, I needed to show her that, and her family as well, that I meant business.
That's fantastic. And you've actually fairly recently celebrated your 25th wedding anniversary, haven't you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Sorry, but did a bit of stalking.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind. So in terms of coaching, I think in 2016, it was about 2016, 2015, something like that. I employed my first property coach.
Okay.
And because I'd bought and sold a couple of things, I built a house. So I made some money, and then I lost some money, and then I realized I needed somebody who knew what they were doing to tell me what to do.
Yeah. So you lost money on the property, did you?
Only a small amount, because I got some, lost some, and then I thought, well, I can't keep yo-yoing. I need to work this out. So I got the property coach. He helped me build. So in the end, I built £1 million property portfolio from that.
Wow.
So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you still got that, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's retirement. Yes. At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. I also, one of the coaches I met on that course, he became, as soon as I heard him talking, I knew I needed him for my financial planning business.
Right.
So he became my coach in that business.
Okay. And what was that a coach in? Just in business, or in mindset, or outlook?
It was many different things, but I think the first thing he said to me is, what is it that you want? What one thing do you want me to help you with? And because I thought I was lazy, I said, I want to work 2 days a week.
Right.
And he said, okay, one of my clients has just managed that, so let's work on that.
Okay.
And
so again, that niching down to one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took I think it was about 2 years, maybe 3 years, to reach the point where I was only working 2 days a week.
Right. Okay. And what were there sort of key steps that you had to implement, or was it just constantly? Do you work on a sort of a 12-week sections, or what? How do you work?
Basically, we took every step of the business completely apart.
Yeah.
And looked at every single element, and then tweaked each thing until we got it as close to perfect as we could.
Okie dokies. And
that took a few years to do.
Yes, yeah, it would do. Business like yours. So, and that was the same sort of thing that you then did when you actually got your funnel. Was it your funnel? Was that all part of this process?
Yeah. Well, what happened was, after let's say a year or two, I started realizing that if we get this right, I'm going to be able to at some point sell my financial services company.
Yeah.
And I thought I could. I knew that the way things were going, I wouldn't need to work again, and I don't need to work again now. So anything I do from this point onwards is just because I enjoy doing it, which is really good.
Yeah, that's a lovely position to be in.
Yeah. So I just thought I need to retrain, re-educate the next level. So back in 2005, 2006, I learned to create that one-page site that took everything off. I now need to do it again, but do it on a much grander scale and take longer. Because I at that point in time, I was working 2 days a week, or I knew that was coming up, and so I just spent every other day and weekends as well, just researching everything I possibly could.
Right. Yeah. So, wow. So, so researching every different aspect of your business, every different aspect of your marketing and things. So, did you, I mean, I'm going to get into specifics here now and things, because we're all here to learn. This is all about business growth and things. So you did Jeff Walker's launch. I forget what they call it now, the PLA.
Yeah, PLF. Product formula.
That's it. And was that absolutely sort of instrumental in taking you to the next level, or? Yeah,
Claire's asking, are there any books I recommend? There is a book called The One Thing. Yeah. Can't remember who it's by. I've got it downstairs.
Yes, I've got it. I can see it from here, but I can't quite read the who it's the author. But yes, I have The One Thing.
Stephen Hardy or something Hardy. I can't remember.
I can't remember, and I can't read it from here on my book.
The One Thing. It was one of the books I got given by my property coach, and he's just the thing about thing I've learned as well is there's something called the circle of focus, and I don't want to go on too much about it, but I think most people focus do not focus all of their attention on one thing at the same time. They're doing different things. So yeah, it could even be that you've got your phone on and you're working on your next script for your video. Yeah. And then your phone goes off. It takes your attention away from that. And for you to try and bring your attention back to it, it takes time. So the circle of focus is taking everything out of that circle except one thing. And then just dealing with that. Otherwise, you're dealing 50% on one thing, 50% on another. Yes. No one gets successful dealing 50% focus.
No, and that was quite interesting, actually, isn't it? With the one thing, it was in one thing. It might be in the Slight Edge, actually, where he talks about, and actually they have proved that that multitaskers actually are less efficient than people who focus on one thing at a time.
The Slight Edge is another book I'd recommend.
Yes,
those two books probably. Yeah. They're very similar, I think. But
yes, they are. They're all about focusing. So, whoops, if anybody, let's see. Here we go. Jeff Olson, The Slight Edge. It's one that I have on my desk. So, yeah, I highly recommend that book too. I think so. So focusing on one thing, niching down, and really getting clear on your target customer, your message, and then going out and learning from the best how to actually implement. Yes, the Pomodoro technique works well. Yes, set amounts of time.
So what I did in the last few years is I spent about 100 grand on my business coach.
Right.
Spent 50 grand on an American coach about marketing and webinars.
Yeah.
I spent 3 grand on very specific short versions of webinars called VSLs. Mm-hmm. And I've just spent another 25 grand on another business coach to help me put everything together.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like a lot of money, but doing these things has generated much more money for me than the money I've paid out. And I just know that if you got the right person helping you in what you want to do, then there's no ceiling.
No, exactly. It's an investment, totally. Yeah, total investment. And yes, and we know that you're clearly a Russell Brunson fan. And so I agree. Anyway, believe it or not, we are just coming up to the hour. So if anybody has got any questions for Mark, then please fire them away to us now. The right person makes all the difference, 100%. It does. It just comes down to picking the person that you can work with and you can learn from. But yes, so yes, if anybody does have any questions, then before we wrap this up, and what I do love about you is the fact that actually you have managed to achieve this by working 2 days a week. You must be supremely efficient and I presume that is just by focusing. So you leave your phone in the other room, or do you just turn it off, or what do you do with your phone and other distractions?
Yeah, it tends to run out of battery quite quickly. So
that's why it's quite hard.
Don't worry about it then.
Right. Okay. So
by 10 o'clock it's dead.
Okay, 10 o'clock in the morning. This question. I hope we've answered that question then. It's this question, Jackie Vincent, unless she's going to put something else up. But yes, that's fantastic. So it is just about being focused, laser focused on the outcome, and making sure you give your customers absolutely the best advice, and therefore you follow that through into your everyday life, in that you take the advice from the best people and best advice for you.
Trying to work out who your ideal client is and just dealing with them makes you happier.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, if you're working with the wrong people, it's totally draining.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing that I did.
Yeah.
Who is your ideal client?
Yeah. And how did you work that out? Do you look at just by working out who doesn't zap you of energy, who actually almost invigorates you and makes you want to try harder.
Yeah, I think so. When it came to my first niche when I was in the Woolwich,
Yeah.
that was just having clients come in and you can do everything you possibly can for them.
Yeah.
It just made sense to me, and it made sense to the client, and I really enjoyed it. Clients really enjoyed it. And then it was the same thing with the endowment policy.
Yeah.
Client comes in with a problem, and then you give them an overall solution, and everything's makes me happy, and it made them happy.
Yeah, no, I 100% get that. That's what makes me tick. I spent 6 hours with my son at the end of August, brainstorming with him what I wanted, because I was absolutely miserable at that time. And we just sat there and just kept going into the why. And when I thought back, the times that I've been happiest was when I was a scuba instructor and I helped this lady get over her fear of putting her face in the water with a face mask on. Ridiculous. She could put her face in the water with a snorkel and swim a length with no mask, put the mask on, and she was just and things, and we got over that. And then when I was then a secondary school maths teacher for a few years, and just hearing a child sort of go yes when they'd got something just makes you feel so good. So so I totally get where you're coming from on that. So it's wonderful. Now, we have just gone over the hour. So I would like to say thank you very, very much for joining us this evening and giving us your insights into and things. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I will see you again next week. But if you've got any questions, Mark is in the group. So if we don't get to answer them now, if you've got any questions, if we put them in, I am sure that he will happily come in and just answer any questions that you've got. Thank you, Claire. Lovely to see you this evening. And you, Sarah, as well. And Imogen and John and somebody else, another Facebook user who's popped up at the end. Lovely to see you too. If I've forgotten anybody, missed anybody, and everybody on the catch-up crew, the replay people, thank you so much. It's lovely for you to be. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.